up, everybody? This is your boy, Teran Rodriguez, bringing you another edition of Set Point. And as always, we have ourselves a jam-packed show as we have a lot of volleyball to discuss, such as week 1 of the women's BNL. It did not disappoint as there was quite a bit of upsets and big wins, such as Brazil! Vamos Brazil! Taking down Italy and snapping their 39-match win streak. How did Brazil do it? And were both teams at full strength? Also, the U.S. was kind of solid in the first week. They did have one loss, which I will go over, but for the most part, it was a fairly solid week for the U.S. Also, Japan went 4-0 in the women's BNL. As can they continue their strong start, and will they be a threat to the likes of Turkey, Italy, Brazil? Also, the men's BNL starts this week as the U.S. will be going off to Canada for the first week of the men's BNL. Also, the ABP League was also somewhat eventful as more history was made in terms of number of points won and set. And also, week 3 is here for the ABP League as we go from Aspen to East Las Vegas. So hand me a volleyball, set to net, because I'm about to serve some volleyball action here on Set Point. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of Set Point here on iSports Radio, your feed for all that is sports. And welcome welcome all to another edition of Set Point. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Monday afternoon, Monday evening, Monday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way into episode 354 of Set Point. Without any further delay, let's begin. But first and foremost, Set Point would not be where it's at without iSports Radio providing the platform to go live on YouTube and on X. Please do follow us on social media on X. We're also back on Instagram at iSports Radio, so follow us on X and on Instagram at iSports Radio. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube if you haven't already. We are trying to reach the next level. We're trying to get to 500 subscribers, but before we can do that, we need to get further and further up there. We are trying to get to 500 subscribers, but with your help, if you haven't subscribed already, definitely do so. Also, check out our website, iSportsRadio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our pages dedicated to each podcast, such as Set Point, and so much more. For the last 12 years, iSports Radio has been bringing you amazing content, ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel, to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. A huge shout out to our sponsor, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. So without any further delay, let's get on into what our sponsor is all about. I will see you all in a little bit.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows and our website as well. We appreciate our sponsor, Planet Jerky, for being the official sponsor of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And the way you can follow Setpoint on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, at set_point.ie, as well as TikTok at set_point.ie. You can also follow me personally on X as well at Teran Rodriguez 1. You can also follow Setpoint on Instagram as well at set_point.iesr. Also, Setpoint is on Facebook. All you just got to do is type in the word set and then point and then hit search. And then you should see the beach icon where basically it was my former profile pic, which is the same profile pic on my Instagram. So if I haven't said this already, I'll say it again. My Instagram and my Facebook are tethered. So it basically, one helps out the other, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. So with that being said, let's get on into the volleyball action. So I actually was going to talk about the women's VNL to start, but I actually do want to start things off a little bit different. So I think it was this past week, the Off the Block Men's Volleyball Postseason Awards were actually released. So I actually got a chance to be part of the I actually got a chance to vote for some of the finalists and some of the recipients. So let's get this started. So yeah, let's get this started, and I'll actually share with you all who I voted for in terms of which award. So this first award is the Karch Karai Award. So for more context, voters are allowed to vote for up to 3 people. A first place vote, you can give them a first place vote, a second place vote, and a third place vote, depending on which one. So the first one that I just flashed was the Karch Karai Award. So the Karch Karai Award is the best outside hitter. So my nominees were Dylan Klein of USC, Sean Kelly of UCLA, and Skylar Varga. And honestly, this one could have gone to any outside hitter. Like any outside hitter that had himself a monster season, what could have gotten this award. But the Karch Karai Award actually went to Patrick Rogers of Ball State. So that's actually a really good accomplishment for him. Patrick Rogers was a big reason why Ball State had themselves a fantastic season. Just because, well, for starters, Ball State hadn't been to the Final Four since 2023, or was it 22? I think it was 22. Yeah, 22. Because 23 was when the tournament took place in Fairfax, whereas 22 was 22. It took place in Westwood in UCLA, but I digress. So yeah, Karch Karai Award went to Patrick Rogers of Ball State. So that was my first ballot. The second ballot was, let's see, the next ballot, if this thing wants to cooperate, the Brian Ivy Award. So I think this is the best opposite. So as you can see on screen, the Brian Ivy Award is award to the best opposite, and my nominees were Cole Hartke, Ethan Wojciech Gajek of Long Beach State, and then Will Darcy. Trying to find it. Here it is. The winner was none other than Cole Hartke. So this is courtesy of Off the Block, and I appreciate Vinny Lopes for letting me vote and be part of the Off the Block media polls. So Pepperdine's Cole Hartkey won the 2026 Brian Ivy Award. So like I said, this is basically this award is actually named after former USC All-American and US Olympian Brian Ivy, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. And this award is award to the best opposite. So congratulations to him. No doubt about it that he deserves this award. So let's keep it moving. So next up is the Loy Ball Award. So this is awarded to the best setter. So my first place vote was Andrew Rowan of UCLA. Second place vote was Teran Rodriguez of Hawaii. And then my third place vote was to Nate Flater. So Nathan Flater of McKendree. I think everyone forgot how good of a setter McKendree had in Nate Flater. And honestly, it's kind of easy to forget about just because it's unfortunately, I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but McKendree doesn't really get the love that it truly deserves just because, well, it's not like on the level of, with all due respect to McKendree, it's not on the level of Long Beach State, UCLA, Hawaii. You get the point. But the award Loy Ball Award went to Andrew Rowan, which means he was voted the nation's best setter. So, yeah. And this award is named after Purdue Fort Wayne All-American and U.S. Olympian setter Loy Ball. So this is presented to the best setter in NCAA Division 1-2 men's volleyball during the regular season. So it's during the regular season. So postseason doesn't really have too much of a magnitude, but I digress. But there's no doubt about it that Andrew Rowan was going to win. I mean, second place was Teran Rodriguez with 15 votes, and it was pretty much all Andrew Rowan. Teran was second, like I mentioned. Third was actually Lucas Machado, who had 5 votes altogether. So there you go. All right, next up, we got the Ryan Miller Award. So this is award to the best middle blocker. So it was Cam Thorne. So my ballot was Cam Thorne for first place, Jackson Christ for second place, and then Owen Rose of Penn State for third place. So this was actually a surprise by many. So the winner of the Ryan Millar Award was actually Cam Thorne. So wait, what? Someone told me that it was Owen Rose, but according to Off the Block, Cam Thorne was the Ryan Millar Award recipient for Off the Block. So there's no doubt in my mind that Cam Thorne deserves this award. Cameron Thorne was a beast in the middle, and he really turned this UCLA program around in the middle when it came to the middle blocker position. Like, he was a force to be reckoned with when it came to the middle blocker position. And gotta remember that he came from Grand Canyon. So he made a massive impact for UCLA in the 2 seasons that he was there. And I do feel bad for him just because he did get a little flack for that whole touch call against UC Irvine. He says he swear he did not touch that ball. And many will say that he didn't. And I agree with him as well, but I digress. So, yeah, Cam Thorne was named the Ryan Millar Award recipient. So congratulations to Cam. All right, next up is the Division II National Player of the Year. So this goes to a player from a Division II school. So it's kind of tough just because Division I and Division II are actually melded in one. So my nominees were first place, Nathan Flater of McKendree. Second place, Isaiah Fed of Fort Valley State. And then third place, Daniel Haber of Lewis. So the winner of that award was Nate Flater, which, look, that's no surprise. Daniel Haber was in second with 9 votes. Flater got 16 votes. Nate Meyer of Missouri S&T got 8 votes. Isaiah Fed got 4 votes, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, no doubt in my mind, Nathan Flater deserves to win that award. And he's actually going to be transferring to The Ohio State. So he'll be staying in the MIVA, but he'll be transferring to The Ohio State, which is going to feel a little weird, but I wish him the best. Next up is the Eric Shoji Award. Now, this was kind of the tough award. I did not know who to pick as the Libero of the Year, or the Eric Shoji Award. Obviously, this is named after Eric Shoji. A lot of these award recipients are going to be named after former players. So, Eric Shoji Award is awarded to the best libero. My first place vote was to Kellen Larson. Second place vote was to Shane Aitken. And then my third place vote was to Quentin Greenidge. And I unfortunately didn't put first place in the in my ballot, but I digress. But anyway, the Eric Shoji Award actually went to Shane Aitken. So it actually was, Shane Aitken got a lot of first place, a lot of votes. He got 29 votes, whereas Ryan Merck got 11 votes, and Kellen Larson got 8 votes, then Chris Connolly, Nico Paula, and then it was tied for 6th, then 8th, and then 10th. So, well-deserved honor for Shane Aitken, as he was a first-team All-American libero. See, these awards do justify liberos. So even though it's NCAA men's volleyball celebrates liberos like NCAA women's volleyball. Hashtag justice for liberos. All right, next up is the Dane Blanton Diversity Award. All right, this one was kind of a tricky one. So this award is named after, obviously, Dane Blanton, who is a absolute amazing person. And this one was kind of a tough one, if you ask me. I honestly did not know who to vote for when it came to this, and it's actually not showing on here. So I guess this wasn't released. That's strange. But look, this one was kind of tough. I mean, when it came down to it, here was my ballot. So Jordan Lucas, Chris Connolly, and then Louis Sakanoko. So I voted Jordan Lucas first just because of the whole little debacle with UC Irvine and him being a true ambassador for LGBTQ. The same can be said for Chris Connolly, except he wasn't really part of a little bit of a controversy. But I still decided to give him the award just because, well, for starters, he deserves a lot of credit as well, just for what he did, and he's part of the LGBTQ movement as well. So there you have it. And then I gave it to Louis Sakanoko just because I look, he's look, this was kind of a tough award to give it out to. So I kind of gave it out to Louis just because, you know, he's international French, dark-skinned and whatnot. So yeah, this award recognized the top NCAA Division I-2 men's volleyball player during the regular season of a minority ethnicity. The annual national award is after former Pepperdine outside attacker and Olympic gold medalist Dane Blanton, and is determined by a nationwide voting committee. So it's not it doesn't show it actually. So when it comes to the website, it's not looking, it doesn't actually show on it. So that's weird. I mean, I'm seeing every other award recipient on Off the Block, but except for the Dane Blanton Award. So maybe it hasn't been finalized yet, but those were my nominees. I guess the final nominees are on the website, and I might as well just name them out. So the finalists were Jalen Phillips, Louis Sakanoko, and Cam Thorne. So at least one of my votes was actually on the money, but that's in no particular order. So I didn't know in terms of how the voting process worked when it came to this. It says minority ethnicity. So I just put Jordan Lucas just because I thought, you know, I did actually read that LGBTQ is part of a minor ethnicity and minority. So there you go. So we'll skip that award. Unfortunately, it hasn't been announced yet, which is kind of poopy, but whatever. So now for the Nicholas Scherzen Award. So this is actually named to the best non-American player. So non-born American player. So my nominees were, for first place vote, Skylar Varga of Long Beach State. Second place, Louis Sakanoko of Hawaii. And then third place, Christian Tetrisky of Hawaii. So the winner of the Nicholas Scherzen Award was actually Skylar Varga of Long Beach State. So this award is named after, this is the best non-U.S. born player in NCAA Division I-2 during the regular season. The award is named after former Ohio State All-American outside attacker Nicholas Scherzin, who led the Buckeyes to back-to-back national championships. So this one was actually a little bit closer. Skylar Varga got 21 votes. Andre Okanovich got 13 votes. Luis Sakanoko got 12 votes. Lucas Machado, 5 votes, and then so on and so forth. But yeah, congratulations to Skylar Varga on the award. That's a well-deserved honor on his behalf. So next award is the National Blocker of the Year. So this one was kind of an interesting award. I could have actually put these three in any particular order, but I went with Cam Thorne first, Owen Rose second, and then Justin Todd of Hawaii for third. So here's where Owen Rose got National Blocker of the Year. This is where Owen Rose was named, who won his award. So he got National Blocker of the Year, and it is well deserved on his behalf. This is award to the best blocker of the year, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. And honestly, he deserves it. There were matches where he had so many monster blocks. I think he even had 10 in one match. So Owen Rose got 30 votes. Parker Tompkinson, 12 votes. Jackson Christ got 4 votes. Ben Braun, Cam Thorne, and Justin Todd tied for 3 votes. And then Sean Baggs had 2 votes. So that's the National Blocker of the Year. I guess they don't want to not name it after anybody, but I digress. All right, next award, if this thing wants to cooperate, the National Server of the Year. So it looks like this isn't on here either. So yeah, all I see is Lloyd Ball, Brian Ivey, Karch Karai, Ryan Millar, Eric Shoji, Division II player, Nicholas Scherzin. Okay, so it hasn't been released yet. So the National Server of the Year, these are my nominees. Andre Okanovich of UC Irvine is my first place voter. Second is Teran Rosenthal of Hawaii. And then third is Jackson Christ, just because he came up with some clutch serves at times for Long Beach State. So now for my next ballot award is the Steve Shondell Award. And I think this has been released. No, it hasn't. So I guess I should at least go over the finalists. So yeah. I already made note of the Dane Blanton Award, National Server of the Year. So the finalists are Patrick Rogers, Andrew Rowan, and Zach Solomon. So actually, Zach Solomon did get National Server of the Year. So I actually lied to you all. So let's just go back here. Yeah, I wasn't even close with my nominees. I totally forgot about Andrew Rowan. And so Zach Solomon got, oh my God, this was actually close. Zach Solomon wound up winning the award by 1 vote. Zach Solomon got 23 votes. Andrew Rowan got 22 votes. Patrick Rogers got 6 votes. And then everyone pretty much tied for the most part. So, yeah, I'm very surprised that Andre Okanovich, he only got 3 votes. And that was probably thanks to me. But I digress. And then Teran Rosenthal got 2 votes. That was courtesy of me as well. And then Chris got 1 vote, courtesy of me. So, oops. Sorry, y'all. All right, now for the Steve Shondell Award. Back to the Steve Shondell Award. So, Steve Shondell Award is an award that's named after Steve Shondell. So, I actually do want to... So, this award hasn't been given out to, but the Steve Shondell Award recognizes the best passer in NCAA men's volleyball Division 1-2 during the regular season. So the finalists are Shane Aitken, Sean Kelly, and Ryan Merck. I had Shane Aitken, Kellen Larson, and Chris Connolly. I put all the Barrows. Shame on me. Long story short, this one was also tough just because you can give it to anyone that passed the ball really well. I mean, Sean Kelly deserves a lot of credit because he's the only outside on the final 3 nominees. And then Merck's also a good passer as well for Penn State. Shane Aitken, as we all know, he was an All-American first-team libero, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. And then lastly is the freshman All-American team. Here's who I put as my freshman All-American team. This award hasn't been given out, but Andre Okanovich of UC Irvine, Jackson Christ of Long Beach State, Wojciech Gajek of Long Beach State, Cam Kosti of UC Irvine, Cooper Keene of USC, Jose Gomez of Pepperdine, AJ Cottle of BYU, Jake Pizzanti of Long Beach State, Trevor Herget of BYU, and Noah Mathey of Pepperdine. So, those were that's my All-American freshman team right there. And yeah, that if you all disagree, just definitely let me know. But those are all the awards that's pretty much all the players that I voted for in terms of the off the block postseason awards. And unfortunately, not all the awards have been released, but hopefully they'll all be released soon. Hopefully next week I'll be able to go over who wins which award. But anyway, that's going to do it for that right there. If I'd known all the others awards weren't given out, then I probably would have saved this for next week, but it is what it is. Anyway, so that's that right there. Now let's go over to the women's VNL. So let's actually talk some USA Volleyball. So USA Volleyball did go 3-1 as their first win was against Ukraine. Long story short, it was a fairly simple win for USA. Ukraine was playing in its first ever VNL match, and the first two sets kind of looked like they were playing their first ever VNL match as the U.S. swept them. This was no doubter, as Ukraine was number 16 in the nation or in the world going into this match, while USA was number 6. I mean, this was just basically target practice for the U.S. Now, the third set is where the U.S. kind of ran into troubles, so they kind of needed to, get the ship back on track, and they eventually did. So, good job to the U.S. It wasn't the greatest match, but obviously 3 points are 3 points. You can never complain about that, especially when it comes to the VNL. So that was a solid win right there. Now, the next match was a little bit sickening, if you ask me. So the day after, so this was on Thursday, the U.S. took on host team Canada. So they played in Quebec, Canada, or Quebec City, Canada. And Canada took down the U.S. in straight sets, which was very frustrating. I basically said in my recap video, the U.S. cannot sleep on Canada because they've got some studs. And boy, howdy, Canada made them pay. Now, I get it. The U.S. doesn't have the likes of Dana Retke, Jordan Poulter, Sarah Franklin, Haley Washington, Chiaka Agbagu, and Catherine Plummer is taking the year off. But honestly, the U.S. shouldn't have lost. And it's not so much I'm mad at the U.S. losing. I'm mad because how they lost. First set, they were actually up, I think, like 19-17, and then Canada used a 3-0 run to take the lead at 20-19, and then Canada eventually ended the set off on a 5-2 run to take that first set. That first set was basically USA's for the taking. They should have taken that first set. The Canada was giving them all of the opportunities to win that first set. The second set, Canada jumped out to a big lead, and they just never looked back, which was very frustrating. Even when the U.S. tried to close the gap, Canada just had the answer for them. Set 3 is where the U.S. really started to strut their stuff. They actually led by as many as 7. They were up 23-16. I thought this was going to be the set where the U.S. really was going to come to play, but unfortunately, Canada was just too much for them. They dodged 5 set points overall, and they rattled off 4 straight points when they were down 24-20. And eventually the U.S. wound up winning, Canada wound up winning the third set, 30-28, and the match. It was a very, very, very frustrating loss. I mean, ex-volleyball or Twitter volleyball was just going off on Eric Sullivan. And everyone was kind of starting to already hit the panic button. But you got to give it up to Canada. They had some stud players like Kira Van Rick, Emily Maglio. They also got a big match from... Who else did they get a big match from? Looking at the box score right now. I should already know this, but yeah. But we got to see a little bit of Hannah Smrek, but not too much. So yeah. You get what I mean when it comes to this matchup. This felt like a match that the U.S. should not have lost. I think they should have at least pushed this to 4, but sadly, that's just how it is sometimes. And sometimes you just got to take the bad with the good. So, Alexa Gray. Alexa Gray also had herself a big match. She kind of got a little bit of revenge against Eric Sullivan. Now, for the U.S., look, it's not that they were bad. I mean, Lexi Rodriguez was fairly serviceable. She cracked double digits, but I think everyone and their moms was clamoring that Morgan Hentz should be the starting libero. And I mean, Lexi Rodriguez is serviceable, but I just think that Morgan Hentz, I think, kind of has a little bit more flash and pedigree, if you ask me. Not that, like, both liberos are good, but I just think that Morgan Hens, I think, fits the libero role just a little bit better, if you ask me. I think it's all about age and experience and whatnot. So there you go. Jordan Thompson had 9 kills, and then Simone Lee Wenk had 6 kills, even though it wasn't her best match either. So, yeah, that was a tough loss for the U.S. I was just beside myself when they lost that third set. I mean, I didn't go scorch the earth. I wasn't scorch the earth mad, but I will just say that loss could have definitely been prevented. At least take it to 4 or 5. But losing in straight sets, because Canada actually, this loss to Canada actually marks the first time the U.S. lost to Canada in the VNL, and I think in any international event. So, ouch. Yeah, Eric Sullivan was just getting torched on Twitter or X. So, next match, which was a Friday, it was the U.S. versus France. I thought this should have been a fairly less stressful match, but boy, was I wrong. The U.S. kind of took advantage, or not took advantage, but they kind of took charge of the first set, 25-21. The U.S. led throughout a majority of this set. The U.S. was not in any danger whatsoever. Second set, the U.S. also kind of led. I think they led 20. I think they led 19-17, and then France tied it up or took the lead at 20-19. Eventually, it was 21-21. France took the lead at 23-21, and then they held on to win that second set, 25-23. The third set, France actually led 20-16. I was really getting worried until the U.S. clutched up, used a 5-1 run, tied it up at 21-21. The U.S. dodged one set point from France and eventually took that third set, 27-25, off a block from Molly McCage. Fourth set, the USA led 23-22, but gave up a 3-0 run to end the fourth set, giving France the set 25-23, forcing a fifth set as both teams earned 1 point. Oh my God. And France actually closed off set 4 with a solo block, which I thought was pretty cool if you ask me. But US was down 5-4, but they rattled off a 4-0 run. They never trailed from there as they took the fifth set 15-11 and the match. So a good win for the U.S., but it certainly did not need 5 sets. It did not need 5 sets by any means necessary. So Morgan Hens got the start at libero. She had 15 digs. There are a lot of players with 15 digs. You all had Simone Lee Wenk with 15 digs, along with 22 kills. You had Sage Kahina Torres with 15 digs and 50 assists. You had Maddie Kubik Banks with 13 kills and 10 digs. You also had Stephanie Samity with 18 kills and 12 digs. Like, it was a really good match, a good team effort, but again, it did not need 5. U.S. could have won that in 4. So, and France came into the match with only one match played and basically having come in off of a day off. So there you go. And then lastly, we had the U.S. had a bye on Saturday, but Sunday they took on Germany. This was a little bit less of a stressful match as the U.S. swept Germany. They were practically clean in this matchup. I kind of had to rewatch this because I was actually focused on another VNL match, but I didn't miss much when it came to the U.S. I thought the U.S. was clean for the most part. Like, come on. The U.S. was not losing this. They knew they had to win, and I was just overall impressed when it came to the U.S. when they faced Germany. Though it did get a little dicey as the first set actually was eventually tied up at 18-18, but the U.S. used a 4-0 run to take the lead at 22-18, and they just held on from there. The second and third set were pretty much all USA. They wound up winning those sets 25-15 and then 25-12. Look, the U.S. was in no danger whatsoever. I was just overall impressed. I was rewatching this matchup. I was just like, okay, good. It's fun. It's about time the U.S. has themselves a not so stressful matchup. As leading the U.S. was Simone Lee Wenk with 15 kills. She also had 8 digs. They also got 12 kills from Maddie Skinner. Sage Kahina Torres led the offense proudly with 23 assists. We also got to see a little bit of Micah Hancock as she came back, and Rachel Fairbanks was listed as the alternate. Overall, it was a solid win. The U.S. didn't even need any players with double-digit digs, so that, again, not a stressful match by any means necessary. Germany just did not have their best match. This was like they started off the VNL with a very good win over Canada, but then they kind of fell off. The loss to Ukraine hurt them. The getting swept by Japan hurt them, and then getting swept by the U.S. just really hurt them. On another note, USC's Mimi Veska led the way for Germany with 9 kills and 7 digs, but unfortunately was just nowhere near enough as the U.S. ended the VNL with a 3-1 record, which was good just because, repeat after me, everybody, the entire VNL the rest of the way is only going to get tougher for the U.S. But they have a week off. Hopefully, for the sake of the U.S., they'll be getting some of their reinforcements back, like the players from last year's team or the players from the Olympic team. But if most of them are there, obviously Annie Drew Schumacher isn't there. She's on maternity leave. And then obviously Catherine Plummer-Bowden is taking the year off. Hopefully she'll be back, which I'm sure she will. All right, that was that for the U.S. side of things in terms of the women's VNL. But for the entire week 1, it was quite the phenomenal week. Like the first match, I was really impressed. Poland-Belgium. Belgium was just on a mission to try to take down Poland, but Poland wasn't having any of it. Poland wound up winning in 5. I was just overall impressed by Poland, but I didn't even know who Britt Herberts was until I saw this match. She was just phenomenal. And this past week, Britt Herberts was able to surpass 1,300 points for Belgium. So she only needs, I think, 22, if not 25 more points to be the all-time points leader in terms of Belgium women's volleyball history, which I think is really cool. So I kind of had to put her as my starting 6 of the week for Volleyverse. If you aren't following Volleyverse, aka Key Michael, on Instagram, she's an absolute amazing follow. And she has, I think, a YouTube channel, so gotta check her out as well. So that was the first match of the women's VNL, and I even did a recap video of that. So congratulations, Poland and Belgium. You made me record a recap video that late at night because your match was just so darn good. All right, now for the first full day. So you had Serbia sweeping Thailand, which was not too surprising. I mean, this was kind of expected. I mean, Poland winning over Belgium was expected, but Belgium just made it tough on them. So, oops. Oh my god. Anyway, but yeah, back to Poland, Belgium. That was just a phenomenal match. A great way to start off the women's VNL. Like, whoever decided to have that as the first match of the women's VNL, you deserve a raise. Like, the script writers were cooking when it came to that. So there you have it right there. And I accidentally clicked off of the schedule, which is completely my bad. Oh, great. But yeah, Serbia, Thailand wasn't too much of a surprise. Now, this was kind of a surprise. Our first true upset was Czechia taking down China in 3 sets. So keep in mind that Czechia, or Czech Republic, Czechia, they were not ranked number 15 in the world. While China, which was actually hosting in Nanjing, they were actually number 7. So the fact that China lost that one was just oof. Then you had Turkey outlasting Dominican Republic in a 5-set barn burner. So third-ranked Turkey needed a 5-setter against Dominican Republic. But gotta give credit to the Dominican Republic. That's a team you don't sleep on. And Dominican Republic actually had a little bit of a rough week, which we're about to see in a little bit. Then you had last year's VNL and world champion Italy sweeping Bulgaria. So unbeknownst to me, some of these teams were not at full strength, just like the U.S. Like, for example, Italy was without a good chunk of their team, mainly Paola Egonu, and then Turkey was missing some of their players as well. So I need to start brushing myself up in terms of the VNL and all these national teams, just because I gotta start having more street smarts, especially when it comes to this whole thing. Then next up, you had Japan taking down France in 4. Again, this was not surprising. Italy sweeping Bulgaria wasn't surprising, though. The third set, Bulgaria really made Italy work, but Italy was able to pull off the sweep. And then Japan taking out France was no surprise there either, just because, come on, Japan's a top 5 team. Even though France won the first set, Japan was able to reestablish themselves. Then the next matchup we had was number 2 Brazil taking down number 8 Netherlands in 4. Nice win for Brazil right there, and good little battle from Netherlands. It's just that Brazil still has a lot of firepower, especially since Anna Cristina is back from her injury, which I think is pretty cool if you ask me. And then, like I mentioned, Germany took down Canada in 4. Canada was the host team, but Germany was able to get the better of them in 4. Kind of surprising that they were able to win in 4, but then the rest of the way they just kind of fell off. Then we go to the second day of the VNL. We had Poland sweeping Czechia, not surprising there. Then we had China outlasting Thailand in 5. Man, China just had themselves a rough week in terms of the VNL, but they did salvage a win. Then we had another upset. We had the Netherlands, 8th-ranked Netherlands, taking down 4th-ranked Turkey in straight sets. Now, this was unbeknownst to me. I did not know Turkey was not at full strength. So that kind of leads to the reason why Turkey kind of got upset by Netherlands. But I've been telling you all not to sleep on Netherlands. That's still a darn good team. And then there was some history made here in terms of the women's VNL. Ukraine won its first ever VNL match as they took down Germany in 5, which was a massive win right there. Keep in mind, this was Ukraine's first ever women's VNL, and they wound up winning their first ever match. Even though they were ranked 16th in the world, they took down the 11th ranked Germany, which I thought was a very good win. And the next up we had was Brazil taking down Dominican Republic in 4. Again, Dominican Republic is not to be slept on. I think they're a solid team, so that Brazil still has a little bit more firepower. And then, like I mentioned, Canada swept USA, which was disappointing to me. Then we had Friday, we had Czechia taking down Belgium in straight sets. Kind of surprising. So Czechia actually earned 10-plus points when it came to that 3-set win. So, yeah, tough one for Belgium, but they'll go as far as Britt Herbots can take them. Then Poland took down Serbia in a 5-set barn burner, with the 5th set being 17-15. Very good matchup right there for Poland. Very good win right there for Poland. They knew they couldn't afford a loss, as they actually jumped to number 3 in the nation, number 3 in the world after Turkey lost to Netherlands. So Poland jumped to number 3 in the world. Serbia was number 9, but Poland outlasted them in 5. And then Bulgaria pulled off its first win of the VNL. I think it's their first win of this year's VNL. I don't think it's the first win of their women's VNL in general. But Bulgaria, 21st ranked Bulgaria, took down 12th ranked Dominican Republic in straight sets. This was a surprise. I was very surprised Bulgaria pulled off this upset, just because Dominican Republic is a pretty darn good team. But Bulgaria, man, you don't sleep on them. Next up we had was 5th-ranked Japan taking down 16th-ranked Ukraine in 4. Not surprising there, in my opinion. I mean, I'll give credit to Ukraine. They took a set off Japan, but Japan is just more experienced. Then you had Italy sweeping Netherlands. Another solid win right there for Italy. I mean, they did have a little bit of trouble in sets 1 and 3, but still a solid win regardless. And then USA took down France. We already know about that. Then we jump to Saturday. Belgium took down Thailand in a reverse sweep. The first reverse sweep of the women's VNL, and it goes to Belgium. So, yeah, this wasn't an upset, but Belgium did earn 3.5 points, or 3.05 points. Then we had China sweeping Serbia. Finally, a good win for China as they swept a solid Serbia team. Then you had Brazil sweeping Bulgaria. First set was a little tight, but then after that first set, Brazil put it on cruise control. As, again, this wasn't too surprising. Brazil's number 2 in the world. Bulgaria was 21. And then here was kind of one of the more entertaining matches that kind of got watered down just because both these teams were missing players. You had Italy taking down Turkey in 4. Again, I was unaware that Turkey and Italy were both not at full strength until I kind of had to start doing some digging. Thank you to those that helped me out and helped guide me into the right direction. So even though Turkey kind of had some ups and downs this week. I think Turkey is still a threat. Italy wound up winning their 39th straight match when it came to women's volleyball, which I thought was really cool. Then you had Canada taking down France in 4. This wasn't an upset. I mean, Canada did actually earn 6.42 points, so nice little rankings points right there. Then Japan swept Germany, which was no surprise there. Japan's number 4 in the world. Germany is number 11. Again, not too surprising. And then to close off Saturday's matches, you had Czechia sweeping Thailand, which was no surprise. They just whooped them really good. And Thailand was 24th in the world. Czechia was 13th, so there you have it. All right, now for Sunday. So yesterday's matches, we had Belgium outlasting Serbia in a 5-set barn burner. That's a very good win for Belgium. They finished the week 2-2. Britt Herbots made history as she has 1,300 or 1,300 points for Belgium all time, and she's now 25 points away from being the all-time points leader in Belgium women's volleyball history. And it was an upset. Nice little top 10 win right there for Belgium. Then we had another big upset. We had number 6th ranked China taking down number 3 ranked Poland in 4 sets, which was a very good win for China. They defended home court really well, and I was just overall impressed, especially in the 3rd and 4th set that they won. They needed to grind those sets off, but man, gotta give credit where credit's due when it came to China pulling off that win. Next up we had was Netherlands taking down Dominican Republic in straight sets. A very rough week for Dominican Republic indeed. They went 0-4, and they're going to have to hope that they don't get relegated. So the Challenge Cup actually did get scrapped altogether, so there's no more Challenge Cup, which is basically the NIT of FIVB volleyball. But the team with the lowest ranking in the VNL will get relegated, and then the team with the highest world ranking in terms of the non-VNL teams will get promoted to the VNL. So yeah, there is still relegation when it comes to volleyball. Then next up you had was France taking down Ukraine in a 5-set barn burner. So it was actually a reverse sweep. So Ukraine unfortunately missed out on a golden opportunity of winning, but France earned its first VNL win. France wasn't too far off of being ahead of Ukraine in the world rankings, so solid win regardless, though. And then we had Turkey taking down Bulgaria in a 4-set win, which was still a solid win. I mean, Turkey does finish 2-2, but there's still plenty of volleyball for them to be played in the VNL. Once they get their full team, this team is going to be running train on everybody. This is probably the worst. Turkey is probably done with the worst of it when it comes to the VNL. Now they can only go up from here on out. And then Japan outlasted Canada in a 5-set barn burner. It was a battle of 2 top 10 teams, and Japan, which was ranked number 4, outlasted Canada, who was ranked number 10. Nice little one more win for the road as Japan finished the week 4-0. There was also one more team that finished 4-0, and that team was Brazil. So this was the match of the week. Brazil versus Italy. And Brazil came to play in that first set. So Brazil took the first set 25-15. The crowd was into it, and Italy just had no response to them. Second set, Italy led 18-14. Brazil eventually tied it up. Brazil and Italy were tied 20-20, but Brazil closed off on a 5-2 win to take that second set 25-22. Third set, Italy fell behind 5-0, and they were down 13-9 where they were out of timeouts. But then Italy eventually stormed back, led 15-13. And after they were down 16-15, they never trailed again as it was tied 20-20. But this time, Italy was the one that closed off the set on a 5-2 run to take that set, the third set, 25-22. Third set was basically just a boxing match, like I said in my recap. Brazil was actually up 23-21, but then Italy rattled off 3 straight points to put them at set point. Brazil dodged 1 set point, but could dodge another as Italy took the 4th set 26-24, and the 2 teams went 5 sets. 5th set, from the start, for the first 18 points, both teams went back and forth. Italy scored, and then Brazil scored. And like I said, that was the case for the first 18 points. It was tied 9-9. Brooklyn 9-9 reference, by the way. But Brazil took the lead at 10 10-9, and eventually the two teams were tied 11-11, but Brazil was able to use a 3-0 run, take the lead for good at 14-11, and then they never trailed after that. They wound up winning the fifth set 15-12, and they snapped Italy's 39-match win streak, which dated all the way back to 2024, where Italy wound up winning the VNL and the gold medal from the Paris Olympics. So my takeaway for this matchup is this. Brazil is here to stay. And once they get Gabi Guimarães, this team is going to be running train on a lot of teams. And some are saying that this is a gold medal or bust when it comes to the VNL. But I tend to disagree. I think Brazil is still going to need to reestablish themselves. I think Brazil is definitely going to be up there. Once we get to see their full roster, well, with Gabi Guimarães, I think we're going to see the true version of this team. Now, for Italy, it was a tough loss for them. They were missing quite a bit of their team. Ekaterina Antropova actually made the transition from opposite to outside. There were only two players playing their natural positions, being the setter and then the libero. Everyone else was playing a different position, or they were not part of last year, or they didn't start from last year's team from the World Championship and the VNL. But the fact that Italy almost came back from 0-2 down on the road, mind you, was pretty impressive. Remember, Brazil was hosting in the first week of the women's VNL. They actually took place in Brasilia, Brazil. So a great effort from Italy. And I think this is actually a good thing for Italy. I mean, I know losing the streak sucks, but honestly, they now can start a new streak. And honestly, I think there's now no more pressure of losing and going perfect the rest of the way, because now they can focus on getting their full team back for weeks 2 and 3, and then proving to everybody that they are still up there in terms of talent. But for right now, I imagine Brazil is going to be number 1 in the world, and then Italy is going to be number 2, and so on and so forth. But that'll do it for the week 1 of the women's VNL. All the women have a week off this week, but the next week will be week 2 of the women's VNL, which we will be previewing. But that'll do it for the women's VNL. We're going to take ourselves a quick break. When we come back, we'll preview the men's VNL. We'll talk a little USA men's volleyball, and then we'll talk some AVP League. So keep it locked here. You are listening to Set Point here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, You can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at iSports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making iSports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing content on our website, iesportsradio.com. Also, make sure to follow us on X and on Instagram at iesportsradio. So with that being said, let's get on into the second half of the show, and then I'll send you all on your way. We're already an hour into this thing. If I had known that the entirety of the Off the Block Awards weren't released, I wouldn't have done it. But let's talk a little USA men's volleyball. So the U.S. men's national team for week one has been released. This was released on Friday. So you've got the likes of Matt Anderson returning, Mason Briggs, Jeff Jendrick, Cooper Robinson, Michael Marshman, Taylor Averill, Micah Ma, Andrew Rowan, Jake Haynes, Cole Hartkey, Ethan Champlin, Eric Shoji, Merrick McHenry, and Jordan Ewart. So Karchkrai is in his second year as head coach of the men's national team, which I think is pretty awesome. They will actually be starting off in Ottawa, Canada on Wednesday. So they'll be taking on Turkey to start at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Then on Friday, they will be taking on Germany at 1 p.m. Pacific time. Saturday, they'll be taking on host team Canada at 1 p.m. Pacific time. I already know that's going to be a bloodbath. And then on Sunday, they'll take on Italy, which will close off the week. So I think it's really cool that Cole Hartkey, who is still in college, he's going to be a junior at Pepperdine. It's really cool that he's going to be playing in the VNL. So I think he's getting that sort of experience is going to be awesome. Wonder if he'll eventually turn pro or forego his remaining years and eventually turn pro. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, good to see the likes of Mason Briggs. Eric Shoji, Mason Briggs is going to be a toss-up at the libero position. Shoji's been doing this since forever. And then Briggs is definitely on the rise. You also got players like Cooper Robinson that could be making their start. So the U.S. actually played Canada in a couple of friendly matches. Canada did kind of get the better of them in the first meeting, but then the second meeting, the U.S. played a whole lot better. I don't think they wound up winning, but it's just friendlies. It's unofficial, so don't quote me on it. But yeah, the setters will be Micah Ma and Andrew Rowan. Nice little duo right there. Opposites will be Jake Haynes and Cole Hartkey. It'll be interesting to see which person from Great Lakes is going to be getting the nod. I mean, I imagine it might be Jake Haynes just based off of experience, but we'll see. And then from what I'm hearing is that Ethan Champlin might be the best passing outside for the U.S. in terms of passing the ball. So I imagine he could be on the starting position, but we'll have to wait and see. And then for the middles, it'll probably be Taylor Averill, and then Merrick McHenry, I imagine, will be playing some middle. Maybe we might see Michael Marshman, but we'll see. But that'll do it for, and also Jeff Jendrick. I'm sorry, Jeff Jendrick as well. So Jeff Jendrick and Averill might be playing. So we'll have to wait and see. But and we might see Jordan Ewart, we might not. But again, we'll see. So I'm not sure if we'll be seeing half of this team at Cypress College on Friday. I mean, I imagine we might be seeing the players that didn't make the U.S. men's national week one roster for the VNL at Cyprus, and then the rest of the team will be in Ottawa, Canada, because that's a lot of flying. But as I should actually mention that half of the U.S. national team will have an inter-squad scrimmage this Friday at Cypress College. I think it's really cool, and your boy did get approved for that, so I will be there, and I am super excited to be in attendance for that. And it's going to be this Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific time. If it's not at 6 p.m., I imagine it's going to be at 7. But just get there early just to plan accordingly, because I imagine parking is going to be a pain in the neck. So anyway, I think it's going to be really cool that there's going to be a red-blue scrimmage. So there you have it. So I already talked about the USA matches. So let's actually talk some men's VNL preview. So a couple of notable matches that headline the week are Italy-France and then Italy-USA. Well, let's go down the line. So the first matchup will be on late Tuesday, early Wednesday. So the first matchup, you got first-ranked Poland and 12th-ranked Cuba. So this is basically going to the rankings are based off of world rankings. Yeah, best in the world, not best in the nation. So Poland is the number one team, as we all know. I imagine I think they still have Wilfredo Leon, but either way, Poland is still Poland. This team is on a tear. Cuba is going to have their hands full with Poland. Maybe they can give Poland a battle. I mean, you saw what happened with Poland and Belgium on the women's side. Maybe Cuba can do the same thing, but you'll have to wait and see. I just think Poland's probably going to have their way. By the way, the 3 host teams for this week will be China, Canada, and Brazil. So Brasilia, Brazil, Ottawa, Canada, and Lanai, China. If I mispronounce any of that, I am sorry. So now, next up will be on Wednesday. You got 28th ranked China and 6th ranked Slovakia. I don't want to say this to be negative, but this one's pretty much going to be a toilet bowl. I mean, Slovenia has no reason to not win this one. China is going to be hosting the men's VNL as well as the women's VNL, but there's no way China's going to be winning this. I mean, if Slovenia loses this, then we need to have a conversation about Slovenia. But yeah, China, you're going to have a tough time with this matchup. Then next up for this matchup, you got 18th ranked Ukraine taking on 7th ranked Japan. So Ukraine is now in year 2 of playing in the VNL. Last year, they were in year 1, where their first win came against the United States. And they almost made the VNL championship, but unfortunately, they were kind of on the outside looking in, but I digress. But this time, Ukraine is going to be taking on another good opponent in Japan. Unless Japan doesn't have most of their starters, I don't think Ukraine's winning this one. And that's no disrespect to Ukraine. I think Japan is a very good team. I just think that Ukraine is just too inexperienced. All right, next matchup. You got 14th ranked Turkey and number 5 ranked USA. This kind of goes without saying. I don't think the U.S. should struggle unless Karchkarai kind of shuffles the lineup. But if he does that, then maybe Turkey might have a shot. I think this is kind of the best match to feel which player deserves to be where. This is kind of a good match to basically test the waters for some of these players, if you know what I mean. So, yeah. I think U.S. should cruise, but I don't think they should underestimate Turkey, especially if they could be tinkering with the lineup and trying to put out the best players where the best players should be, but we'll see. All right, next matchup, you got 15th ranked Belgium taking on number 9 Bulgaria. All right, this one I'm kind of excited for. I'm more excited to see Bulgaria because they obviously have the Nikolov brothers. Oh man, how am I blanking on the other? Alex and Moni, or Simeon as most of y'all call him. But yeah, Alex and Moni are a very deadly Bulgaria duo. And I will just say, other than the United States setters, give me Moni Nikolov. Give me Moni Nikolov as my setter over any other non-USA setter. I think Bulgaria-Belgium should be a fairly straightforward match. I mean, if Bulgaria doesn't have any players hurt, or if Bulgaria has their main roster, I think Bulgaria should win fairly easily, but you can never underestimate anybody. All right, next matchup, you got 13th ranked Serbia taking on 8th ranked Argentina. All right, this one should be kind of a sneaky good matchup. I mean, Argentina, I think, still has Agustin Loser. I can't imagine Argentina having trouble against Serbia. I think Argentina still is as talented as advertised. I just don't think they're as talented as they were in years past. But I think Argentina should handle Serbia. I can't imagine Argentina losing, but you never know with week one. All right, next matchup, we have a doozy of a matchup. You got 4th ranked France taking on 2nd ranked Italy. This one's the match of the week. In terms of like the highest ranked matchups between all the teams in the VNL, this is the match of the week. Lots of talent on France, lots of talent on Italy. I think this one's going to be a barn burner, and this one could be an instant classic. This one could also be a preview for the VNL championship match, but both teams have got to get there. But overall, I think this one should be a very, very fun match. Get your popcorn ready. Get your non-alcoholic beverages ready. Get everything ready when it comes to this matchup. You're going to be in for a really good ride. Next matchup, you got 3rd ranked Brazil taking on 16th ranked Iran. Iran's still kind of new to all this. I think they were one of the few teams that were kind of on the outside looking in when it came to the VNL championship last year or the VNL finals last year. They're still growing. I honestly think that Brazil's going to win this one, but I wouldn't be surprised if Iran kind of challenged their way. I mean, week one is kind of an anomaly when it comes to most of these teams, just because you never know who's on the main roster and who isn't on the main roster, especially if they're just recovering from injury after playing pro, or they are on maternity leave, or they are injured altogether. But regardless, I think Brazil handles Iran. And then to close off Wednesday's matchups, you got 10th ranked Canada taking on 11th ranked Germany. All right, this one's going to be a fun little matchup right here. I mean, if the women's matchup was just as great, I think this one could be even better. But you never know when it comes to Canada and Germany. I mean, Canada, I think Canada is going to be one of those really good, sneaky good teams. I think Germany could also be good, but I think Canada should defend their home court. So you have that right there. And then we move on to Thursday. You've got China, Ukraine. This one's a toilet bowl matchup. Slovenia, Poland. That one I think should be a good matchup because Slovenia is currently 6th ranked. Poland, so I imagine this will be a top 10 matchup unless Slovenia loses badly in their first matchup, but I digress. Then Bulgaria, Iran. Bulgaria should handle Iran, but Iran is young and dangerous, so we shall see. Italy, Germany is going to be a nice little sneaky good matchup, but I just think Italy should handle Germany quite nicely. Brazil, Belgium, kind of going to be a good matchup. I just think Brazil has more firepower. Canada, France is going to be probably the match of the day right there. That one's going to be a really good one between France and Canada, just because France has a lot of firepower, and then Canada is the host team, and they've got some studs on their team. So we'll just wait and see what happens, but I think that one should be match of the day. Then on Friday, you've got Ukraine, Cuba. That one, I think, is kind of going to be classified in the toilet bowl category. Well, maybe not. Cuba's 12th ranked going into this week, but still. Japan, Poland's going to be a nice little top 10 matchup right there. That's going to be a very fun matchup. I think it's going to be Japan's defense versus Poland's high-flying offense, and I think Poland probably should have the edge, but you never know. Serbia, Belgium, I think, is also going to be pretty darn good, if you ask me. Germany, USC is kind of going to be a sneaky good matchup. I just think that if the U.S. finally knows who's going to be playing where, I think they'll be fine. But for me, I just think the U.S. can't underestimate Germany by any means. Iran, Argentina, I think is also going to be a pretty solid matchup right there just because Argentina is a top 10 team and they can't afford any bad losses here and there. And then Turkey, France is going to be straightforward. France should beat Turkey. And then we jump to Saturday. You got China, Japan. This is kind of a nice little rivalry matchup, except it's kind of a one-sided rivalry. Japan is just way too good, though China is is hosting, so they may come with a little bit more motivation, and obviously they'll be bringing their fan base, but so will Japan, so we'll see. Cuba, Slovenia also is going to be a sneaky good matchup. I think both of these teams can definitely prove their worth. And then Brazil, Serbia, that one I think is also going to be a very good matchup. Well, actually, Serbia's 13th ranked, while Brazil's 3rd ranked. So at best, it'll probably be sneaky good, but Brazil should handle business. Bulgaria, Argentina is probably going to be a underrated top 10 matchup. I think it's a very good top 10 matchup. That's because there's a lot of talent on both squads. I just think that this matchup kind of pales into comparison to the next matchup being Canada, USA. That's probably match of the day right there. But just because now they get to play each other for real. Last weekend, they played each other in friendlies. Now they get to face one another for real. And now it's time to see what the U.S. is made of. So the U.S. men's national team has to do what the U.S. women's national team couldn't do. Beat Canada on the road. Then you got Turkey, Italy. I don't mean to say this to discriminate Turkey, but I think Italy is going to have their way. And then Ukraine, Poland, I think is going to be a one-sided affair. I mean, Poland's number 1 in the world, while Ukraine is like number 16. It's going to be a tough matchup, but we'll have to wait and see. And then Sunday to close off week 1, China, Cuba. That's kind of a toilet bowl matchup unless China proves us wrong or proves me wrong. Slovenia, Japan should kind of going to be a... Slovenia is 6th, and then Japan is like... What's Japan ranked? Aren't they like 5th? Okay. Oh, gosh. Slovenia is 6th, while Japan is 7th. And yeah, happy belated 6-7 day. Let's all laugh and just say 6-7. Anyway, Slovenia, Japan. That's the top 10 matchup. Not a lot there's not too much given up between these two teams in terms of world ranking points. So it's going to be a fun matchup. Belgium, Iran is probably going to be a toilet bowl. I hate to say it, but maybe Iran can squeeze out a win. Again, they're a young team. I don't want to say they're going to stink. It's just that I think that Iran is going to have some growing pains when it comes to the VNL for this year. So it's just all a matter of motivating themselves on will they be able to be better from last year, and can they improve on last year? We'll see. Then Germany, France, that's going to be another fun matchup. I think that one's going to be an exciting matchup. I think it's a great little... I mean, France is obviously top 4. Germany's right outside the top 10. If they play their cards right, Germany could push their way into the top 10 in the world come that matchup. But it's going to be all about which team shows up. So we'll see. Then you got Bulgaria, Serbia. That's going to be a solid matchup. Not anything to ride home about, but Bulgaria honestly can go 4-0 this week. I mean, Bulgaria's schedule kind of does favor them, but they could also go the opposite direction. But we'll have to wait and see when it comes to Bulgaria. Canada, Turkey is, I mean, not too much is separating these two teams, but I think Canada has a lot of firepower for this year. So Turkey better be playing their best when it comes to facing Canada on the road. Then you got Brazil, Argentina, which that's a nice little top 10 matchup right there, especially for Brazil, which will be hosting the VNL this week. And then finally, we have the match of the day, USA versus Italy. The U.S. could honestly come into this match 3-0, but they could also go into this match 0-3. I'm just kidding. They're not going to go 0-3. I mean, they're beating Turkey. They should beat Germany. At worst, they'll probably be 2-1. But yeah, Italy's going to be a really tough matchup. That's the second-ranked team going into this week, while USA is number 5. I think this is going to be a very fun matchup. It's going to be their true litmus test to see where the U.S. is at and to see if they really are a top 5 team, if they can be a team that can contend for a spot in the VNL finals. But we shall see. But that'll do it for this week 2 preview, I'm sorry, not week 2 preview, week 1 preview of the men's VNL. All right, so that is that right there. So now let's talk a little AVP League, and then I'll send you all on your way. All right, so this week the AVP League went to Aspen, Colorado for week 2 of the AVP League. So first matchup was the Palm Beach Passion versus the Miami Mayhem, the Battle of Florida, and the Palm Beach Passion, which was on the women's side, consisted of Melissa Humana-Paredes and Brandy Wilkerson. They outlasted Kelly Cheng and Megan Kraft 17-15, 11-15, and 15-10. The Paredes and Wilkerson both earned 2 points, while Kraft and Cheng earned 1 point. Then on the men's side of Palm Beach Passion and Miami Mayhem, we had Trevor Crabb and Phil Dahlhauser taking on Andy Benish and Taylor Crabb. We had ourselves a crab boil, ladies and gentlemen. And when it comes to these crab boils, aka Trevor Crabb versus Taylor Crabb, all bets are off. But in the end, Taylor Crabb and Andy Benish took down Trevor Crabb and Phil Dahlhauser 15-10 and 15-12, earning the full 3 points. Then to close off the rest of the day, you had the Brooklyn Blaze taking on the New York Nitro. So on the women's side, you had Lexi Denneberg and Julia Donlin of the Brooklyn Blaze taking on Tony Rodriguez and Molly Shaw. And Donlin and Denneberg took down Shaw and Rodriguez in straight sets, 25-23 and 15-9. So remember how last week there was a set that went 24-22? Denneberg and Donlin said, hey, hold our Kia water. We'll up the ante one more. As now that is the most points scored in an AVP League match, which I think is really cool. And then on the men's side, you had Derek Bradford and Eric Corey taking on Kame Shulk and James Shaw. In the end, Derek Bradford and Evan Corey took down Shulk and Shaw in 3 sets, 15-12, 6-15, and 15-13, as Corey and Bradford both earned 2 points, while Shaw and Shulk both earned 1 point. So next up, which was Sunday, aka 6-7 day, we had the Palm Beach Passion taking on the Brooklyn Blaze. This was kind of a personal one on the women's side. So Melissa Humana-Paredes and Brandy Wilkerson took on Lexi Denneberg and Julia Donlin. It was the rematch of last year's Women's VNL Championship match. But this time, Humana-Paredes and Wilkerson got a little revenge against Donlin and Denneberg, as the Canadian duo wound up winning 15-16 and 15-10. And then on the men's side, we had Trevor Crabb and Phil Dahlhauser of the Palm Beach Passion taking on Derek Bradford and Evan Corey of the Brooklyn Blaze. And the Passion, which consisted of Crabb and Dahlhauser, took down the Blaze, which consisted of Bradford and Corey, 15-12 and 15-13. And then to close off the AVP League in week 2, we had the Miami Mayhem taking on the New York Nitro. Kelly Cheng and Megan Kraft of the Mayhem took on Molly Shaw and Tony Rodriguez of the Nitro. And Cheng and Kraft took down Rodriguez and Shaw in 3 sets, 15-7, 10-15, and 15-11. And then on the men's side, we had Andy Benish and Taylor Crabb of the Miami Mayhem taking on Kame Shulk and James Shaw of the New York Nitro. And Crabb and Benish took down Shaw and Shulk on the men's side in 3 sets, 14-16, 15-13, and 15-8. So overall, looking at the standings for this past week, the Miami Mayhem and Palm Beach Passion as a team both went 3-1 and earned 8 points. And then the Brooklyn Blaze went 2-2 and earned 5 points. And then the New York Nitro went 0-4 and earned 3 points. So that is that right there for week 2 of the AVP League. Now for the week 3 preview. So I remember I said the AVP League is coming to Las Vegas. That's next week. So this week, the AVP League will be going to Sephora Arena, located in Miami, Florida. So cool beans right there. So the teams partaking this week are the Austin Aces, the Dallas Dream, the Miami Mayhem, and the Palm Beach Passion. So looking at the schedule for this week, we've got the Austin Aces and the Miami Mayhem facing one another to start this week. So this will be on Saturday, where Troy Field and Ryan Wilcox of the Austin Aces takes on Andy Benish and Taylor Crabb of the Miami Mayhem on the men's side. And then on the women's side, you got TKN, a.k.a. Taryn Brasher and Kristen Cruz, taking on Kelly Cheng and Megan Kraft. That's a nice little battle right there. I mean, Megan Kraft has familiarity facing TKN as she and former partner Therese Cannon took them on in the Newport Beach Open. And I imagine they faced one another when it came to FIVB. And then Kelly Cheng obviously is a fellow Olympian, and that's going to be a very fun matchup, the Mayhem and the Aces. And then also we've got the Dallas Dream and the Palm Beach Passion. On the men's side, we got Paul Lottman and Miles Partain taking on Trevor Crabb and Phil Dahlhauser of the Passion. And then on the women's side, we got the Dallas Dream, which consists of Kylie DeBerg and Betsy Flint taking on Melissa Humana-Fredis and Brandy Wilkerson of the Passion. And then Sunday, you've got the Austin Aces and the Dallas Dream in the Battle of the Texas Two-Step, where Troy Field and Ryan Wilcox will be taking on Paul Lottman and Miles Partain on the men's side. And then on the women's side, you got Taryn Brasher and Kristen Cruz taking on Kylie DeBerg and Betsy Flint on the women's side. And then the final two matchups, the final two matchups to close off week 3 of the AVP League. You got Andy Besh and Taylor Crabb of the Miami Mayhem taking on Trevor Crabb and Phil Dahlhauser, which means we got another crab boil, ladies and gentlemen. One more crab boil for the road. And then that's on the men's side. On the women's side, you got Kelly Cheng and Megan Kraft taking on Melissa Humana-Fredis and Brandy Wilkerson. So it's another rematch between these two teams. So talk about familiarity. So last week was round 1. Round 2 is this week. And boy, this is going to be a very, very fun week. And heaven knows, we could probably see Kelly Cheng and Megan Kraft in the Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles. And obviously, we'll be seeing Brandy Wilkerson and Melissa Humana-Fredis, barring anything doesn't happen to them. But overall, I think that matchup is going to be very fun, just because Cheng and Kraft need more team chemistry. They've got good team chemistry because they've partnered with one another in the past. It's just all about putting it all together. So we shall see. But yeah, this week will be played in Sephora Arena in Miami, Florida, which I think is pretty awesome sauce. And then next week will be played in Las Vegas, Nevada. Where are they playing at? It doesn't say where they're going to be playing that. So maybe they'll play at University of or UNLV. I doubt they play in the T-Mobile Arena, just because I think that's still going on is the Stanley Cup playoffs. I mean, maybe it could. Let's actually look up the Stanley Cup playoffs happening. So yeah, the AVP League would be next week. So looking at the T-Mobile Arena and its availability, I mean, here's the schedule. I mean, I know this isn't the neutral zone, but let's actually look up if T-Mobile Arena is a possibility. So Vegas hosts tomorrow, and then Sunday, Vegas would also play on the 14th, this weekend on the 14th. That's 14th is if it's necessary. And then I imagine Game 7 is going to be on the in Carolina. So Game 6, if necessary, is going to be on the 14th. So it could be a possibility that T-Mobile Arena could be played for the AVP League, but let's not go down that rabbit hole right away. So let's just keep it a buck as is. It's going to be played in Las Vegas, and next week. Well, not this next weekend, but the following weekend will be the halfway point of the AVP League, which is rather surprising. I'm very surprised that the AVP League is already halfway through, but I guess they want to just go through it as quick as possible just because they want all the other teams to prepare for not only the league championship, but they also want to prepare for other big-time tournaments as well. But that'll do it for the AVP League Week 3 preview. The second half of the AVP League will be played in Long Beach, California. As I've mentioned before, I will be there. I'll be seeing the likes of the LA Launch, Brooklyn Blaze, Miami Mayhem, and Dallas Dream, which will be playing that week. So there you have it. But that'll do it for this week's episode of Set Point. I appreciate you all tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on the playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere. I appreciate you. Salute to everybody. For everyone here at IE Sports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. Have yourself an amazing week. Enjoy all the volleyball action. And I will see you on Friday at Cypress College for the intra-squad scrimmage between the U.S. men's national teams, red team and blue team. Take care, everybody. Peace. Where's the...